Yes! What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another session of Coffee and Martial Arts. Salute, salute, salute. Cheers. Oh, yes. Coffee is good this morning, and so is our conversation. Yes, I was already talking to our guest today. But before I bring him in, I need to make the usual announcements. So let's see. Remember to please leave a comment or ask questions, okay? We are here for you guys, the guys that are watching. So ask your questions. We will be more than happy to answer them. So will be our guest today. And like and share this video. That really helps, okay? So we're going live through our Facebook page, Master Frank Soto, Kinetic Dragon. You can look us there. Join the page, please. Put a like there, because that brings more numbers and that really helps us, okay? We're doing this for you, okay? So please do so. Also, you can follow us on YouTube on the Kinetic Dragon channel. Yes, sir. So please do that. We're also going live on the Internacional with a C, Internacional Hall of Fame of Argentina. Yes, the first Internacional, it's in Espanol. So the Internacional Hall of Fame, they have a magazine and everything, and they're an amazing group that usually supporting us, so we can go. We're going live there on Tuesday, Thursdays, and Fridays. Coffee and Martial Arts go live every Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So please, like and share and send your questions and support us. We love you all and we like your support. Okay. So today we have an amazing guest for the second time, right? He really likes to share. Okay. And so, I had to ask him, please come back into the show. And he said yes. So, and we're always very grateful to have our good friend here, Maestro Brye Cooper.
Top of the morning to you, Maestro.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, Frank. Cheers.
And we have a new sponsor. Okay, that's why I have a new cup. Okay.
Oh.
Yeah. They send me these 2 cups, and they send me a kilo of coffee. So who am I to say no, right? So at least I take coffee out of this. And also a great conversation, man. We were talking about this, before we went live, about doing this, and I'm actually this is the best part of my day, when I turn this thing on and I get to talk to one of you guys. So thank you for accepting the invitation, my friend.
You're welcome, sir. Thanks for inviting me back on. Appreciate it.
So we have some people saying hi. Todd Johnson said, I would be honored to hear your voice. That comment was already there when we got in. So thank you, Mr. Johnson. We are live now. Okay. Rafael Herrera. Salud to Maestro Soto. Salud, sir, all the way to Spain. Thank you for being here. Ursula Diaz. Okay. So you've been here before, so we don't need to go through your background and all that. People know who you are. You're the man. Yes, sir. So for everybody that don't know you, okay, Mr. Cooper has been in the martial arts for quite a while. I'm not going to say how many years, because they might figure out our age. That's not a good thing. But one of the things that I really like and enjoy about your point of view is that you bring this street no nonsense approach, the combative approach into Kenpo and into self. Of course, I really like that, because like we were talking, this is something that it's really needed today. What are your thoughts about that, my friend?
Yeah, 100%. Like you said, we were just talking about this. And let me differentiate between Street Kombative system, Kenpo. It's still American Kenpo when I'm teaching. Street Kombative system itself is a separate system too for people who just want to train in self-defense. They don't want to go the white to black belt route.
Great.
we have hybrided it into my Kenpo system too, because we have a lot of original, philosophy and drills and stuff like that. And what we were just talking about is Frank and I were just talking about to the audience is psychology, the psychologies of combat. And I find that is the most today, not today, actually, more people are looking into it and delivering the product with that in mind, with the soft skills in mind, as opposed to the physical hard skills. More people are doing it, but I find it was ignored for a long time, and that's why Richie, Matthews and I were just talking last night about stuff, and how Kenpo in a lot of areas, it feels like we were just treading water for a few years there, going, well, which direction now, and because we lost, obviously, our figurehead, Mr. Parker 30 years ago.
Right.
And there wasn't any people. I'm sorry?
No, I guess the mindset, right? The mindset is really important. I think that's probably, in this past 30 years, what has been, I'm not going to say lost, but changed, right?
Yeah, it's changed. You're absolutely right. It wasn't lost because it's in the books. I mean, from book 4 up to book 3 and book 4 are physical, mental constituents. So mental, mind, you know what I mean? And what those books do is if you read them, is besides giving you, the basic concepts and principles, the fundamentals of how we articulate motion and, stuff like that. But it also, there's a chapter in, I can't remember, it's book 4 or 5. I think it's book 4. And within that chapter, Mr. Parker says, go out and study the arts, all arts, study science, study stuff like that. Because the reason for that is because if you have an understanding of arts,
right,
as a broader spectrum, it gives you a greater ability, your mind, a greater ability to imagination, right, to create and invent. And we always have to be creating and inventing because environments change. Well, what changes in the environment besides the solids, the physicals? Attitudes change.
Behaviors, right.
Culture change. Behavior changes. What might have been back in the day, or step outside and we'll go Queensbury, is now you walk outside and somebody just, oh, no, next thing, you're getting people are all over you. It has become a more violent world. And it becomes more violent because the psychology changes.
Right.
And so, therefore, we must keep up with that. In fact, personally, my viewpoint is you have to stay a step ahead of that psychology. You don't want to be trying to compete with it, that changing psychology, because you're always trying to catch up, or you're never going to be, you're always going to be effect and not cause.
Right.
Whereas if you develop the right strategies, the mental training, and so on and so forth, no different than the military or law enforcement. I don't know. It's different now for law enforcement, obviously, because we have a lot more. They're under a lot more pressure.
And more. One of the things that I wanted to that just popped in my mind. The other thing that changed was that part, the law, right? Like before. 35 years ago, like I started training in martial arts in the 80s, right? You probably earlier than that or around that same era.
82. Yeah, 82. Yeah.
So there you go. So back then, teachers and instructors could get away with a bunch of, you could hit each other harder, and people were okay with it. Like I remember when I went to school, in elementary school, we used to get hit by the teachers. And it was okay.
Yes.
They would slap us in the back of the head. And we even had a teacher. We call her. She was Miss Valenzuela. She wasn't Valenzuela's last name, but you remember Fernando Valenzuela from the Dodgers, the pitcher, right?
Yeah.
But because she will get the chalk, just turn around and just throw it at you, hit you in the freaking. And she had
chalk eraser.
Amazing accuracy, right? So we will call her Miss Valenzuela because she was just an amazing thrower.
With a great arm, yeah.
And we used to get hit with the I don't know if you had that in the States, that meter rule that it was a meter long rule made out of wood. They used it, and they put our hands like this, and they would whack you with it, like with a freaking board, basically. and that happened to us. This was late 70s, early 80s. Still happened.
Yeah.
And if you went home and tell your parents, "Oh, the teacher hit me," you had it coming. Yeah, you. What did you do? They would slap you. Damn, right?
I mean, I grew up in the UK, so I don't know what they did here in America, but when I was growing up, it was they caned you on your hands until you reached 11, 12, and then you took it on the butt. You know what I mean? It was 6 of the. I never got 6 of the best. I only ever had 2 or 3. But yeah, and the thing of it is the most thing you were afraid of is not getting the cane. It was that they would tell your parents. You know, because then you would get home too. Yeah.
And I remember when we got in trouble, they will you will get your backpacks, right? You get 2 of them or books, stand in the middle of the freaking school, the patio, at 120 degrees, right? Because here it's really hot. With your hands, let me because this was fun. Your hands extended out like this, right? With your books, and you will stay there for an hour or so. Can you imagine what human rights would do to you now if you do that to a kid? Right?
Yeah, it's torture. Yeah.
And you know, and the funniest part is the rest of the kids, we were all laughing like, and throwing things at the kid like.
It's universal, isn't it? It's universal with children, mischief. You know what I mean? And it's sad because that's part of growing up and developing character too. I mean, I had the cane a bunch of times when I was going through school from like, you know, 7, 8 years on, you know, I mean, I wasn't a little rogue. It was just the things they did back then. And to be honest, and, you know, you get caned and then you had to stand on either side of the stage at lunch dinner time where the headmaster would eat and you just be standing there in front of all the kids and they'd be laughing. But, you know, it's interesting. It's just like, I look back and they say that they the helicopter kids today, don't they? But I look back on that and go, it didn't harm me.
No, and I can tell you, we probably deserve it because we were little monsters, man. I remember.
Yeah, we would run down from the head of house room after getting caned. You know, you'd stand there after they'd done it because there'd be a line of you and they'd just be caned, and we'd all look remorseful and, all right, get back to your class, and we'd be like, yes, sir, and then they'd shut the door and we'd run down to the bathrooms and pull our pants down and look at the stripes on our bums like, oh. You know, it was harmless. You know, in context, though, you know, this is why we're actually bringing it up. The psychologies of it, you know, that prepares you for stuff when you're young. Yeah. It lets you know that, and I think that's probably the method in the madness. Is it the right kind of madness to put on children today? I don't know. You know, it didn't do me any harm, but
I'm not saying we should do that again, but I'm just saying, you know, it's a different era. And we're probably being too overprotective of our kids. Yeah. In the environment, it's not. So that's why I believe the importance of the mindset now. I mean, here in Mexico, we can get away with more things than in the States when it comes to teaching martial arts. We can go a little bit harder and people are okay with it up into a certain level, you know, harder in a good way. Like we said, I mean, it's if we're teaching Kenpor striking arts, if you're teaching self-defense, there's gonna have to be contact, right? You need to learn how to get hit and how to deal with that. Right?
It's part of the lesson. And you know, as long as you're not hurt, you know, breaking any bones or you know, putting any stitches in faces, and you don't. Obviously, the most important thing is that you don't injure anybody to the point where they can't train anymore. No, that's not good.
No, of course.
But some areas of it. Yeah, control. I mean, the thing about control is I tell the students all the time when I say use control, what do you think I mean by that? And they're like, oh, don't hit him, don't hurt him. And I'm like, yeah, that's a given. But in learning to control that, the advantages of that is you're going to learn to control your opponents. Right. And Kenpo isn't all about just going boom, 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 boom. It's not. That's kickboxing, boxing. You know, and even that's not actually, to be honest with you. We know it's a science in itself, you know. It's learning how to just make those minor major moves and placement, contact and manipulation. If you're out of control, you have no contact manipulation. You're just making contact.
Right. One of the things that I tell to people because I hear this, you know, I do a podcast and I'm a good friend with Sensei Rodrigo Salas, which is a jiu-jitsu guy. And they always talk about jiu-jitsu being the human chess game. Right. And I tell, yes, Kenpo is the same. We're just we're just doing it faster. We don't have the time to do it, so you need to do it. It's like if you're playing chess with, the clock thing, like you do the play, and you're in Kenpo will be like just moving the thing and hitting the freaking clock, right? because that's the approach, right? You want to control the person on the street as fast as possible, because every second that passes, you're giving the other guy the opportunity to hurt you, right?
Yeah, they actually, Also, too, one is, one's jiu-jitsu, judo, grappling, like that. Although obviously very, very effective. We're all doing it. We're all incorporating that into our game.
Of course,
they're all different. I mean, if you had to go
about the different approach, but yes, of course, they're good. Yeah.
We're striking, so our mental approach is going to be different.
Yeah.
The combative approach should be the same. You want to be combative about it. Once you reach that point of like, all right, we passed the point of no return, we're going to commit now. That intensity obviously needs to be developed and needs to be the same. The competitiveness or the survival instinct is actually what it is in combatives. In tournaments, it's competitiveness, surviving the competition.
What do you call combatives? What is your definition of combative, sir?
Well, in context, what I'm saying is it's combat. So if I'll just give you the makes it easier, doesn't it? Just to fighting between armed forces to take action to reduce or prevent. Okay, well, in context, what actions am I taking on the mat if I'm training jiu-jitsu and I'm doing that every day? Well, I'm still gonna become effective on the street, obviously, of course, and it's very effective. But we train differently because in regards to how we go about approaching the same incident. Like, I won't go in looking for, all right, I'm going to shoot, or I'm going to wait for him to get on and bait him in, and I'm going to slip down and maybe go for a body fold takedown or something like that, get him on the ground, control him, stuff like that, which is fantastic. It's very effective. I've done it. It works. And it also is good to train that stuff because it makes you understand your Kenpo better. But with us, it's like, if that's it for me, or especially in the SKS approach, the combative approach is not to be, well, I'm going to try and feel this out. I'm going to hit him here. I'm going to hit him here. I'm going to hit him here, and I'm going to cause a reaction, and hopefully the fight will be over.
Right.
Well, that's kind of taking that from the dojo and what I've learned in the dojo to be like sort of. This is just my viewpoint, by the way, for anybody listening. Everybody has their own. We're all individually unique, and we tailor this art to ourselves. But I look at that and I go, okay, well, maybe I don't have the ability, the endurance mentally, or whoever you are, to just spend 20 minutes winning a fight, or even 5 minutes, to be honest. It's a long time. 3 minutes is a long time if you've ever been in a ring. You know what I mean? It's a long time.
It is.
I want to get it done. So I have to, in order to do that, I have to do things which are a little bit more dangerous in regards to how the effect I'm going to have on the person I'm making contact with. For example, am I just going to do, if we did 5 swords, what's my intention? Is my intention to stop the attack? Well, the attack intention is to stop the mass, obviously. But, when I do that first, whether you do the hand sword or the hammer fist, or however you like to do it, what's the intention? Is it to strike his neck and make him bend like that? Or is it just, oof, I'm going to bring that through here. I'm hoping to catch the notch here, break the clavicle, and sorry, I don't mean to be dramatic, but you're making that decision because if the situation demands that,
right? If
the guy's got a knife or a gun on you, or it's imminent, or you've seen him, you might be your wife, girlfriend, kids, friend, and this maniac's just come up. We've seen it the other day again here, and just starts attacking people, and you go, well, why is everybody standing around watching that? Because I'm sure some of these people may have done some sort of self-defense training, martial art. Maybe they haven't, but let's say they have, and Kenpo, jiu-jitsu, whatever they've done. And why are people standing around and not intervening? That's our obligation, right? I think, anyway. Well, I'll tell you why. Because they haven't trained for that kind of violence, and it's in front of them, and it's like,
right, they don't know what to do.
It's scary. What do you do? How do you stop somebody who's going, bah, 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 bah? And this is the self-defense part, the combatives, you know, how do you stop somebody when you've just trained to be, you know, from, I'm not talking about black belts. Obviously you're a skill belt, a higher rank level in brown. You're at a skill level where you are going to be able to pull it off. But I'm talking about white, orange belts. How do they've learned at that point 34 techniques and basic movements and stuff. So they have the ability to go in and take, you know, if you teach somebody in jiu-jitsu, within a week, the first day they're going to learn how to do a rear naked choke. They're going to learn how to take the back and bring them down. You know what I mean? Whatever choke they use, and rear naked, whatever. And that's effective. But for us, we go, well, how do I don't know how to do that. I'm not saying everybody, I'm not quite sure how to do that with my Kenpo and go in and end this altercation. It's too violent. I'm not sure how to get in without, well, unless you train that, in my opinion, train for that, what they call the violence of action. You're not going to be able to use it. It's a different mindset. And so the combative mindset is different than if I'm on the mat's mindset. It's two different worlds.
Yes.
So am I training for the mat or am I training for the street?
And it's also valid to train for the mat. Just
100%. Well, that's where you get your conditioning, right? And you learn your lessons. But then we have to make that paradigm shift.
But that's the thing. You need to be honest with yourself, right? Are you doing this for the sport or for, you know, just to feel good for an activity, or are you getting ready for a self-defense situation, right?
Right. So we go, well, then, so what's the difference? You know, again, defining combatives. What's the difference? We'll do it in the firearms world, because you go into the military, you go civilian, you go military.
Right.
And if we're civilian, we're going to range and we're shooting guns and we're maybe even do some tactical training and fun stuff, blah, 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 whether it be with, you know, sim munitions or paintballs, I don't know, whatever. But you're learning the same tactics as you do in the military. You see it all the time. It's all the rage now, isn't it? These Airsoft games and all that. And, you know, right. It's very big, open, you know, through woods and forests. And they have this so tactical approach. But it's a game.
Right.
If you put that person in combat, it's the same tactics. The difference is now those rounds will kill you. And that changes your psychology. It changes psychology. Which is why they train you in the basic training the way they do, not to break you down, but to recondition you mentally. And that's, for me, that's what, and I'm a long way around it, but essentially, like, how do we condition civilians to make that combative shift, mental shift? It's hard, especially as the older you get, because you live in a nice lifestyle. How do I get you into the combative mentality? Well, the way that we do that is we two things. One, we don't right away. You don't. Right. What I do is I teach you, and you learn stuff and drills, and we do all these different types of drills and stuff that will flatten any considerations you have or may have in that violent conflict. So that you're not sitting there with like a deer in the headlights. You don't have cognitive blink, or what they call deer in the headlights. So that to me is the combative approach. So that's a teaching method, and that's not easily learned, because it takes years to understand. You have to know every individual in order to teach that method, that approach. You have to approach every individual, same curriculum. But I make sure that I understand everybody's mindset. How do I approach this guy? I have to approach him combatively, individually, differently, because it might spook some people.
Right.
Some people want to train that way, although they need that training, like you were saying earlier. We were saying earlier, times are changing. They need that kind of realistic, reality-based training, but it can spook people. And so how do you make that? So, like, say, if we're doing... if I'm teaching a beginner, short form 1, okay, and you say, well, it's just short form 1, it's his first form, it doesn't have to be perfect. Well, it doesn't when you first learn it. But, by the time you test for your belt on it, are you testing for your yellow belt as a yellow belt in the dojo? Or are you testing for your yellow belt using your imagination, both of you, your uke and you, that we're doing this for real? And consequently, that's going to change the dimension, how you approach your dimensional zones. 100%.
Right.
Which I know I'm kind of leading into But that, if you know, the use of the dimensional zones is going to be different. I should say your articulation of that is going to be completely different depending on your mindset. And so if we trained you in that mindset, your application when doing that is going to be, I believe, you're going to have a greater ability to perform at optimum. And so that's basically, put a long story short, is that my approach is like, well, how do I get, it's not like learning street combatives. It's not learning new vicious techniques. I mean, you can take a pen, right, and put it in somebody's eye. I mean, that's about as dirty, as vicious as you're going to get, right? It's not about that. It's about training your mind. How do I now fully get the physical and mental constituents to go?
Well, you're not creating a Street Fighters.
You're creating people who can deal with environments, street and fighting environments.
That's a different thing.
Yeah, because the one's fighting, one's self-defense.
Exactly. Yes, it's not the same.
No, I mean, when we're in the dojo and we're sparring and stuff, we could be there for an hour or two having fun, and we can get intense because it's, if you both agree you want to go a little bit heavier, you do, but you both know here two things. One, you're not going to try and kill each other or seriously maim and harm each other. You shouldn't be, right? Maim or harm each other. And two, again, on the street, it won't last that long, or it shouldn't. You shouldn't want it to last that long. It should be over like that. Once you've made that decision, you can't get away. I can't get away. I've tried. I've reasoned, if you have time.
And another important thing is you can throw the towel, right? You can stop the fight at any moment. In a sports scenario or a dojo scenario, you can say or tap out, and in the street you can't do that, right?
You can't do that. But again, it's like I was saying about it's good to lead into it actually, because it's maybe for some of our Kenpors too. We're all familiar with the dimensional zone theories, right? Obviously, the 4-dimensional zone theories: height, width, depth, obscurity. Sure. Mm-hmm. If you train with that mentality, I'll give you an example. One of the things I notice when I'm teaching some of the drills that I teach, and then I'll say, okay, now do it now. Like I might teach you one of our specific drills, and they'll say, or you'll do 5. I don't use 5 swords because everybody's familiar with it. Do 5 swords, and you'll see people do it, and they'll do it great, especially the more advanced stuff, and just finish, whatever it is they got to do. Okay, great. Okay, and I always take, I have the group watch it because we have the 3 points of view, right? And it's important that they comprehend what that means.
Right.
It's not just like, I see it from the outside. Well, yeah, see it from the outside and see the cause and effects and what's going on. Look at his foot maneuvers. Slight foot maneuver can change everything.
Right.
And we think it's like, fast hands, blah, blah, blah. No, just step off, bang, you've come over the top, you've knocked them out. That's a simple little foot maneuver. So I get it, look at it that way. Excuse me. And then we go, when you do that, they say, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do a specialized drills we have, and I'll say, now do it again. And the first thing you notice with everybody is the timing.
It changes.
The timing changes. Yeah, because we've flattened we're trying to get them out of the habit of it doesn't matter what system you train in, because it's natural. Mr. Parker talked about it in that chapter in book 4. It's natural to overreach. We kind of tend to naturally want to overreach. We just do, but it can have consequences. You know what I mean? For obvious reasons. So if you can get people not to react through emotion, but more through what we call as isn't it, seeing the situation as it is, then timing. Wait. It's scary. It's like, move. Oh, I'm going. And you go, no, too soon. Just wait, and you'll just when you flatten those jumps, they go, and then you watch that technique. So if the timing's got better, what else has got better? The ability to economize motion, right, and utilize the benefits of economized motion, speed, power, all that stuff. So that just, like I said, for me, that just comes from approaching the mindset a little bit different. I'm not the only one who's doing it, by the way. There's lots of people doing it now.
Of course.
Because we had 20 plus. We talked about this last time. We've had 20. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
No, just 1 second. We have a lot of comments, man. Let's say hello. Otherwise, we're just going to go with this. Sorry to interrupt you, my friend. This is very interesting.
Stop me. No, I'm like, mate, I like to.
Okay. Ursula Diaz says, saludos from Argentina.
Hello.
Catherine Letter Sumter says, hello, Master Frank and Sensor Brye, from all of us at CCDP.
Hello, Catherine.
Swim, Washington, USA. What's that? Juan Martin Alvarez, salud, Master. Salud, Maestro. Edward Bishop, Omitofo, Masters, Omitofo. See, I'm even learning Chinese now, huh?
Yeah.
Salud, sir. Thank you. Luis Gonzalez says, congratulations for the show. Thank you. Maria Lopez, salud from Argentina. Saludos, Maria. Martin Perez, salud. Okay, Marcel de Jong, long time no see, Brye. I very well remember a 2.5-hour conversation on the first move of Form 6. Good times. Nice.
All right. Yeah. That's it. Yeah, we were in England at Kevin Mills's. He used to do a yearly camp, and Marcel and I were going over. We shared a room for a night. And Kev Mills, yeah, there you go. Hey, Kev, how's it going? Yeah, Marcel and I shared a room for the evening, and obviously it's Kenpo too. Nice.
Yeah, and you will worry about what we were going to talk in this hour, right?
Oh, yeah. Well, we can talk about that if you want,
No, we're doing just fine. No. I'm just saying there's always a lot of conversation, a lot of things to share with Kenpo guys. Great, amazing. Yeah. Ernesto Colbrenet, salud from Santa Fe, Argentina. Big hug. Thank you, sir. Saludos. Mr. Nassim Holmes, greeting from Cape Town, Maestro Soto and Mr. Cooper. Mr. Richard Matthews spoke very highly of you, sir. Beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, you.
Okay, another familiar face here, James Leonard. Evening, gents. I remember back as a kid in Ireland, we used to train on tiles and concrete. Use broom handles to check blocks and sparring hard with the white mitts, and yet rarely had any injuries. You're right. It's all about your level of control.
Yeah. It was a deeper train. It was I'll speak for myself. I started in Shotokan karate in Liverpool, and it was like the training back in the day, it was the physical conditioning training was a lot harder. I mean, it is too now still, if you just got to find the right schools, obviously, but it was pretty much across the board. We were all on the same page. The first thing you did was condition the students, and they did. It was hard, but you avoid injuries. Like the gentleman just said, you avoided injuries. I remember, occasionally in the tournaments, people will get smacked and stuff, but not like, and they didn't wear headgear, any of that stuff. Conditioning.
Right. Mr. Hans Hesselman, good to see you. Hello, sir. Patricia Sara Valdez, salud from Argentina.
Hello.
Nassim says, greeting, Mr. Mills. It's been quite a while, sir. I hope you and Mrs. Mills are well. Salud to you all. Okay, you already said this. Thank you. This is nice. John Ward. Hi, Mr. Cooper. Never met you, but got nothing but good recommendations about you. Wow, nice.
Oh, that's great. Thanks, John. So hopefully one day we'll share the match, John.
Nice. Liam Brady. Hi, lads. All the best from Ireland. Thank you, sir.
Long time. I think 2008 was when I met Liam. Oh, you were there in Jersey. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Right. It's been a while, man. So yes, I agree with the importance of the mindset and how you expose people to all of this, developing that mental toughness. I always talk about this mental toughness. I know it sounds, it's cliche, but it is important to generate that mental toughness, to be ready for that person who's really trying to hurt you, right? If you never felt that type of violence when somebody is on top of you like a freaking animal trying to kill you or hurt you really bad, you don't know how to deal with that. I mean, it's not a pretty thing to happen.
even for those of us who've been experienced, I mean, you know, we all grew up, we all been through roughy tufty when we were kids, right? And also, obviously, as martial artists, we've had our little encounters here and there, whether it be on the mat or, you know, off the mat. And even for us, I mean, you know, getting punched in the face is not nice for anyone. But like you're saying, if you have the mental toughness, there's two sides to that mental toughness, if I may. One is exactly what you're talking about, is developing that ability to absorb the information and the impacts that are happening in present time, you know what I mean, and not panic, or, you know, basically, yeah, not panic. And the second side of that is the byproduct of that mental toughness is clarity in the moment, in the mind. If I can shield my mind, you know, my life force, because again, I mentioned this last time, that's what I believe. The spirit is here. The mind is just a tool to store time. The spirit tells the mind what to do, and we animates the body, right?
Right.
So it's that spiritual toughness you need, that, you know, they call it heart, that sort of thing. If you can develop that physically, condition your body, they both work together. Develop your body physically and understand and have a good knowledge base of what's going on and how it will go down. Then in the moment, the brain works, as we all know, fast, just as fast as any computer, right? Or you know, as fast as we need it to go anyway. Faster than we need it to go, I should say, if we can tap into it. Well, in that moment, you can, I like to slow videos down. I mean, I watch this stuff all the time online of different things, and, you know, you can go to these different websites and see actually real combative stuff from around the world, and it's pretty intense. And I think we might have mentioned, we talked about this maybe before, but it's not because I'm into the macabre and the, you know, all that. It's not. It's because I need an R factor on it. If I'm going to train with knives, I got to see that. I've never been in a knife fight. I don't want to.
No,
you know,
no, of course
I don't.
not.
I've trained with people and been taught by people who have, and I train myself, and I have complete conceptual understanding of what it is. You know what I mean? I do. I know that there's no room for the deadly weapons. It's final, you know. But when looking at these, you go, that's. And you're also watching these videos. You see how much, depending on target acquisitions and how much damage somebody can take. You know, they could, you know, it's or whatever, or even gunshots. You know, if it doesn't hit those areas, and then you can train an empty hand and just know to go exactly where to strike in the different, you know, and that person's going. And it's just with an empty hand. Knowledge is the key, right? And again, that's the combative. What kind?
They're also the counterpart, right? There are some videos out there. I'm not saying that you should go look for them. When somebody gets stabbed just once, and 40 seconds later they're gone. You know, because they got a main artery or something.
Well, yeah, I mean, we train that for knives. I mean, when we're training blades or even empty hand, the purpose of, like, you're training, I tell my students anyway, it's like, I'm not trying to get you to be, you know, I don't know, what would be a great technique that everybody would know? I don't know, parting wings with the ending. I'm not trying to get you to, in a real life situation, he's coming at me and I'm going to go step through, spin, hook, bang, kick, all that stuff. It's not going to happen. It may, but, you know, we go through the motions because it probably stop even if you went through it. The main goal is to remove consciousness.
Right.
For me, whether you do that with a knife, empty hands, pistol.
Because your brain is going to go there anyway.
Yeah, you want to remove the ability for them to function. And the easiest way to do that without killing somebody, obviously, is to remove the consciousness.
But also when you're doing like when you're practicing technique, it's not about the technique. It's about you being able to perform without thinking about it. Right? There's always the opposite.
Yeah. Which is, we're going back to what you were saying about the importance of mental conditioning, because that spontaneity won't be there. It won't if I'm having considerations in present time. Oh, that hurt. Oh, God, did that work? I don't know. I'm struggling. Oh, now we're grappling. Now I'm this, you know. Oh, what should I do now?
Too slow.
It's occupying space and time. You can't fucking fight like that. I mean, you can. Of course you can, but you're not performing at optimum.
No, but you're never going to go into that level of performance that you need for survival, right?
Right. if you have a mental toughness, and it doesn't have to be martial arts, we've seen it growing up with just basics. Sorry, I keep adjusting my seat. I have to get a new bloody chair. The hydraulics are broke on it. Keeps dipping. You know, going up on the streets, going up in, you know, rough neighborhoods and all that. If anybody did that, you'll develop that mental toughness anyway. You don't have to go in a studio. And the difference is that attacker. I mean, God forbid you ever have to go through an experience like that. But we have to say that attacker has no remorse, doesn't care about you. I've seen it. I've seen what the commitment level, and I'm not talking about I've been in the ring, I've boxed, I've done all that. I've seen people trying to knock me out. And, you know, they're trying to knock you out. On the street, they're trying to hurt you. You know what I'm saying? It's a different mindset.
It's a different monster. Yes.
They've gone out of the analytical mind. They've gone down now. They're just reacting, and so it's all they're just doing stuff. In the ring, it's different. Even if you're doing full contact, MMA, boxing, kickbox, any of them, because like you said, you've got the towel, you've got the referee, you've got yourself. You can say, all right, I'm done. That's it. You go drop to an knee and go, fuck, you better than I thought, you know what I mean? Or whatever, or that's enough. You don't have that out there.
And that's okay. You can't do that.
Yeah, if you can't control the environment instantly, if you lose control of it, it's very hard to get it back. It's very hard to gain control again.
Yeah.
So you have to, you know.
And besides, I usually talk, and when I teach, you know, and I just want to bring this up. I talk about, you know, emotional resilience and mental toughness, and it's not the same. They go hand by hand, but emotional resilience is putting up with the aggression, right? You're holding it.
Yeah,
you're getting but toughness, it goes beyond that. It's not just having that resilience, right? It's growing, right? Going to your best when you're in that worst scenario. And that's what you see, for example, in special operation guys, right? Special operation units and the elite guys. That's what they have. When you put them at the worst, they're going to be at their best, right? They're going to rise. And that has to do with the way you train, not just physically, but also mentally and emotionally, right?
Yeah, and you know, there's two sides to that coin, as we know. There's the hard skills, soft skills. What's the primary skill to use? Soft skill. Even if you're in the military, they don't want to be a court. If you're a special operator and you know, whatever, SEALs, recon, whatever they do, you know, whatever those guys do. I mean, I'm not a special force, but I'm aware of what they do.
Right.
The last thing they want to do is get into a contact. They're trying to survive. They're trained if they get into that sort of contact. Well, that's how we should look at it in the civilian world too. And I know we're talking about fisticuffs and all that, but I mean, I'm not getting any younger. You're not. We don't really want to do that. I don't anyway. Out there, you know, it's fun in the dojo, but you don't want to hurt somebody. You don't want to get hurt, more importantly. So that mental toughness also, you have to recognize its value in regards to your soft skills, because they always come first. You know, if somebody's in, how many times, if you don't, ego takes over, and ego's a killer. You know, fuck you. No, what? That's you too. And then it just, who wins? It's just who's better than who at that point.
And that goes back to what you say earlier. It's not about training to fight, because if you have that fighter mentality, you will get engaged. It's about training to defend yourself. And if you're thinking in those terms of self-defense, you might just walk away. Right, it's a big difference. We have a question here. We have a good question in the comment. So let me just say hello to Patricia Monzon. Good afternoon from Argentina. Todd Johnson says great insight. And now we have, here we go, Maestro Scott Higgins. Aloha from Hawaii, Senseis Brian Frank. Recently, there have been 2 civilians fatalities where the police officers were unable to recognize or adjust their use of deadly force. How do you personally determine whether a student can or cannot handle the mental training? Great question.
Great question. Yeah, it is. And I was actually talking to Richie Matthews about this yesterday. And I said it earlier, you have to recognize we're all individually unique. I've always been able to do that for a long time. I just have that ability to have a higher level of awareness. And that's just in that area. I mean, you know, so I've always been able to recognize energy doesn't lie, for one. So you look for those students who are having a hard time. I'll give you an example for that question. When I'm teaching a self-defense class, not Kenpo class, but even it's the same actually if there's beginners in there, but especially with a self-defense class, you've got people coming who've never had any defensive training at all. They may have been into an altercation, or they've just been watching too much news on TV and they're panicking and they want to get some sort of self-defense training, and they've come to just happen to come to me, you know. So the first thing I do is I find out, even if they're not aware of it, and I won't make them aware of it because I don't want to introvert anybody. I'll find out what this person is, what they're about. I can say something verbally to a group of people just to look to see if I can get a reaction from Joe or Jane over there. I might not even be looking directly at them because I want to see, and I'll recognize it, because you could say, listen, here's the reality of an attack on women. You know, I've seen the pictures in the police departments years ago. I was up to Modesto and the cops there showed me terrible stuff. It's a power thing, you know what I mean? It's not really a sexual thing. So when you say to somebody, and I have to say this, it's my obligation to say, listen, it's going to be extremely violent if it happens to you. So you got to understand where this can go.
Right.
If they don't have conceptual understanding, they won't train for it. So then we go to Scott's question. Well, how do you know that they're going to be able to handle that sort of reality? You start with simple basic drills. I do. I'm not trying to change somebody's personality. You can't. People are people. What I'm trying to do is give you tool that in the moment, prior to a contact, that you can make that shift to your training drill. Bang. I'm not going to Q&A this. It's the greatest disease known to mankind. It's the disease of Q&A. Is it? Isn't it? Can I? Can't I? Should I? Shouldn't I? Will it? Won't it? No, you have to be in present time and see it as is and go, this is what it is.
That's one of the reasons why I don't like the what if training.
Yeah, what if? I understand the mental.
Yes, yeah. But if you put your mind asking the question all the time, you're going to train yourself to do that on the street, and that's not good. Not at the moment of self-defense. Prior, yes. But once you engage, you cannot ask the question, what if? You just need to formulate, be spontaneous right there.
I mean, the what if is basically the ideal, the ideal formulation, what if, you know, her training is that we could, as you know, and I know, I know what you're saying there. I will go, oh, let's do this, but I wonder what if he reacted that way? Because I just seen that this time I hit you. Yeah,
but you need to be careful with that, as any other
hit went down. You dropped into your right hip, and I also noticed as you dropped into your right hip that your left hand came up. Just throw a left hook at me when I do it next time. Oh yeah, oh man, I got to be aware of that. Okay, right. So how do I change without changing the dynamics of the technique? Not because the techniques are written in stone. I mean, obviously, it's because every technique is just an idea. You can make your own techniques up. You know.
Sure.
Sorry, I just don't want to get off the track. Just to finish Scott's question. So the thing of it is, and you can get your own drills up. Like I have, it's drills that are specifically designed by me for the Street Kombatives approach. Anybody can make the drills up so long as they understand why. What's the why of it?
Yes.
Why am I giving you that drill?
Yes.
Am I giving it you because we've always done it? And why am I teaching you?
And that brings us to the mental training. Now, Scott did a tricky question here that I would like to address. He's talking about use of deadly force in police officers. Now, when I teach police officers, that's my thing. So when you're teaching a police officer, how do you know they can handle the mental training? They got to be tested, psychological. They got to pass the exams, you know. And even though that's not, there's no insurance, right? There's no, you're not sure they're going to do it the right way, but they got to pass the exams. They got to go to evaluations, right? Mental evaluations, psychologist evaluations. And then it's also how you train them. You need to, because what happens sometimes is you got an instructor who's teaching the police officer how to fight. And that's a problem. That's why I like your approach when you said it's not fighting, it's self-defense. You need to teach the police officer how to control the situation with the use of
100%.
force. Now how to beat up a person. So you need to change that, and that's hard because it's not just the mental, it's the awareness. It's like a consciousness level. They need to think as a protector. And that's one of the things that I teach a lot. You need to develop this love for people because you're serving the public, right?
100%. And that's all, it's all encompassing. It's the zen of it, isn't it? 100% you do. It's all about control. It's all, you have to learn how to become cause over effect. Not cause instead of effect, cause over effect, because they're trying to affect you. See, so how do I become cause? If I'm weak-minded, and I don't mean, when I say weak-minded, I don't mean that you're a weak person or that I'm anybody's better than anybody. I'm just saying in that area, if you haven't had experience in that area, you're not going to be strong mentally to deal with. That's the whole point of training, right? So if I'm weak-minded, I've just come to a self-defense course for a weekend, and maybe I'll do it once a month or whatever. I mean, I give booklets in my self-defense courses that are, it's full of the first intro that you take home with you. You can study everything we've gone over because it's important.
Right.
So you got to find the right drills. I have my own drills to that help that person get out of the state of reaction. You know what I mean? And put them back at cause. And that's very hard to do when somebody's attacking you, or even if they're not attacking you, they're just threatening you. It's like, whoa, it's intimidating. And I'm constantly thinking it's re-stimulating, stuff. And, constantly think. So if I've done drills that can just make me go, all right, past the point, he's crossed that point, and now I got to go. Doesn't mean I'm not afraid. Of course, I'm about to get hit, maybe. But I'm using that, and now, but I'm sticking to no different than you hear in the military. How did you, or in the police academies? How did you survive that? The training kicked in. The training kicked in.
Yes.
Okay, the training kicked in where?
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah. And why did it kick in there? Because you believe in it. If you don't believe in something, you won't internalize it, and you won't use it to its maximum. You won't, because there's some Q&A on the line. You didn't quite get the piece of knowledge you needed to go, oh, okay, now I get it. And that will then transfer over to everything you do. It's a totally different mindset. That's why I encourage people to go do jiu-jitsu or boxing or something like that, because it puts you under stress. You're going to be fine, but it puts you under continuous stressful it's a continuous stressful situation as opposed to just doing a technique line. I'm not big on technique lines, to be honest with you. Just moving through a technique line and we're all standing, and if there's 20 of us, it's like you get to do a technique every 3 minutes. Well, if they're moving fast, you get to do a technique every couple of minutes. And no, pair off, run it. All right, 2 minutes, go, stop, switch, keep going. Put yourselves under stress. I understand why we do technique lines, because it's very flashy and it's fun and da 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 da. But for actually combative training, why put those? Yeah, I just don't agree with it. I just think it's like,
technique line is just technique line. It should be just another tool of training, not the main tool.
Right? I think it brings us together too. It's part of the experience you have in the dojo, that it's fun. And I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's not. It's sometimes you see it that's the priority. All right, line up, technique line, go. Pair up.
Well, it will be the thing here will be the same question. Why? Why do the technique line? Why pair off? Why do it's the same thing with the technique. Why are you doing the technique, right? If you understand the why, then you can play with it, right?
We did a technique the other day on Friday. It was a training at this dojo on Friday, and the technique in question, Rich and I were talking about this, was a buddy of mine was running the class, and he picked a fucking charging ram. And so we did, and charging ram's a great example of what we're talking about here, of mental conditioning and how it's going to affect how you allow that range to come closer to you, because it's very spooky. And especially if you train to attack the attack, that's counterintuitive to most people. You're being attacked, so go for them. Most of them are going to go, no, I want defense, and then they're going to get, and yet a lot of the attacking that attack is your best weapon, you know what I mean? But that involves you being able to hold your nerve, till they get to here. Not when they're out there, They got to get to here because your fighting range is here, right? Basically the length of your humerus, because it's contact manipulation. That's what Kenpo is. I can't have full contact manipulation if I'm fighting outside that outer rim. I'm fighting from not my outer rim. That's the excess. That's the you know what I'm talking about. That's as far as I'm going to go. I'm fighting from within my outer rim. I'm fighting from within it. And therefore, if you train that way, and there are drills to train to because these concepts and principles, we hear it and we go, no, I get it. I fully understand it. Do you? Yeah, I fully do. Okay, I want you to do that technique now with that in mind. I go, okay, good. I filmed it. Look at it. What do you see? How many times did you go outside your outer rim? Oh, fuck. Immediately. Okay, good. Now you could make it work.
Sure.
But now watch. Coming to me. Oh, Jesus. Oh. Just wait. Step in. Engage your mass fully. Don't pull yourself away from your mass. Don't have your mass try and catch up with you. Have it there right with you at the same time. It moves as one. Everything moves as one. It shouldn't expand out, in my opinion. You know, you want depth of penetration, of course, because we need that for contact manipulation. We need to create effects. But, you know, working within, again, that outer rim. So
you just said something. I'm sorry. You just said something very, very important that I would like to bring up. My opinion. That was brilliant.
Yeah,
no, that's brilliant because basically when you get a student, they get taught by you, right? Mm-hmm. So even though you're teaching them a system, you're still going to have your experience and your opinion, and that's actually not just valid, it's very valuable, right?
100%. The trick is, I mean, whether we know it, the greatest gift I can give to you as a student, you know, when you come into for your first time, is to give you the ability to use your imagination when you're training in the combat arts. Imagination, basically, the ability to create and invent. Can I get you to be creative and inventive within this art? Now, we're all artists. We all have. You could be a computer programmer and artistically create these software programs. You could be a carpenter and step back at the end of the day and go, fuck me, that looks good. You know what I mean? Whatever. We all have that ability, but we don't all have the ability to cross over with that same artistic value into other disciplines or other areas. Okay. So then you go, oh, and it's an interesting phenomenon again. And again, this goes back to Scott's question earlier about the mindsets. If you recognize in people what they can and can't do in that area in regards to the arts, in regards to the arts, well, then you can adapt tailor the art. Mr. Parker called it tailoring in Kenpo, right? We tailor it not just physically, but mentally, mental and physical constituents. I have to tailor it to you, but in order for you to get the best results across the board, what you're teaching has to be universal, and will enhance everybody.
Right. So
I wrote something here. Actually. Look, complacency is the virtue. I've read this from Mr. Porr. Complacency is a virtue unworthy of assurance. So, you know, complacency is just smug, being like uncritical of yourself. I'm just great at it now. And that's complacency, and there's no virtue. And you can't think that way. People become complacent because they don't have the ability to be creative and inventive. They don't know how to use their imagination, is what I'm trying to get at. Well, you can actually unlock that. You can unlock it on a student with certain types of drills and structured training to the point where they then become creative. And because that is ultimately the spontaneity you're talking about. Right. You're painting your own picture in real time. It's your signature. You know what I mean? You're signing off. You're doing all the flows, the movements.
You are creating a solution.
Yeah. Once you do that, it frees the mind. Mr. Parker used to talk about, well, I mean, I'm bringing it up because we're talking. I mean, it's in the books too. I can't remember if it's in book 4 or 5, but again, we touched on it. Go out and learn all these sciences, these arts, these other things, not because they're combative. No, because they free the mind. They free the artist in you, the art of the martial. See, and that's what we need to do when we're teaching, even if it's just from yellow belt on. How do I free up your mind? It's going to be easy for me to teach anybody to punch and kick. Anybody can do that. It's easy. But freeing up the mind. so that then you can go on, and when you're teaching, you pass that on, and then that individual, and that's what makes great music, right? I love U2. I love I'm going to show my age now. Simple Minds. It's all different types of music, but I just got goosebumps telling you that. But they're creating with the same basic fundamentals of music, but just putting different signatures and different imagination to it. That's the art of it. Art is arbitrary.
Amazing, my friend. And we are out of time. It's been an hour already.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. That was great. Before we go, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, where can they reach you?
They can reach me at streetkombativesystems.com. They can reach me at streetkombativesystems@gmail.com. We have a Street Kombatives page too. We don't have much content on it right now because we're all locked down. But you could reach me through that. Yeah.
Oh, so you're in let's see, Street Kombatives. Let me see if I'm trying to find your sorry.
Oh, Kombatives with a K. Yeah, if you put in Street Kombatives with a K, so streetkombatives.com, but it's with a K.
Trying to share this. Sorry for that. There we go.
Well, just like I said, you can email me at streetkombativessystem@gmail.com. Yeah.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go. So, well, thank you, my friend. This was really interesting. You know, an hour it's not enough time. That's why you are here for the second time. So let's make it a trilogy, man. You need to come back.
Absolutely. I'd love to, Frank. It's always a pleasure, mate. It's always a pleasure. Yeah. I hope everybody got something out of it. And, you know, if you have any questions for us, we're here to help.
I'm sure I did. I did a lot from all of you guys. And thank you. This was very interesting conversation. Like I said, you have a very interesting approach into Kenpo self-defense and the combative side of it. I think it's really, really important because it's a survival skill that we need to have.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, we do. You too, Frank. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody, for watching this. Before we go, I just want to say next Thursday, we're going to have a living legend here in the show, Bill Superfoot Wallace. Yes, sir. Right. He already confirmed he's going to be here. We're just trying to go into the technical things because he's, like he said, he's not a high-tech guy, but he'll be here on Thursday, and we're going to have an amazing time. So thank you again, sir. And I hope to see you back here on the show soon.
Absolutely. Take care, Frank. Take care.
Bye. Thank you, everybody. Take care. And we'll see you next time.